Hey trackies, welcome back to another video. Please remember to smash that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. That's how the video gets to the YouTube algorithm. Share the video if you care. I hope y'all care, so share. And yes, please sound off in the comment section below. All right, so the Tokyo 2025 World Championships, it's over. Oh my gosh, it was such a wonderful week of track and field. But yeah, we want more. We definitely want more. But you know what? Since the championships is done, we can now look back at a few of the athletes and how they performed at the championships. And one of those athletes that I want to look back at is Kishane Thompson and how he performed at the championships. Now, in the men's 100 meters, he went in as favorite, ended up with a silver medal in the men's 100 meters. Of course, Jamaica going 1-2 with Oblique Civil taking the gold medal. Now, coming out of this, there is the thought process that, hey, Kishane, didn't do as good as he could have done in the men's 100 meters. And this comes from, guess who? His coach, Stephen Francis. Now, I'm going to let you take a listen to what Stephen Francis had to say, and then, of course, I'm going to get back with the rest of my thoughts.
As I said, when you surpass your season's best and so on, it is what makes me think you have done a good job. It's not that important for me where you place, but more important that did you do the best that you could this year, and so that's all I'll say.
All right, so trackies, you heard Stephen Francis. So he's not really rating your performance based on your placement, where you place, but did you actually do as good as you could have done? Meaning, was this your best race of the season? And he didn't really expressly say that it wasn't Kishane Thompson's best race, but the mere fact that Kishane Thompson won the silver medal running 9.82 seconds says that, hey, it wasn't his best race, considering that his best performance so far of the season came at the national championships, where he ran 9.75 seconds to take the win there. So as far as Stephen Francis is concerned, though he, as I said, didn't expressly say it, Kishane Thompson did not do as good as he could have done, given that he didn't mirror what he's already done so far this season, or better that, right? Again, he won that silver medal with a 9.82 seconds. Now, trackies, in my opinion, I think two things are definitely true, in this instance. You know what I mean? I definitely applaud Kishane Thompson for winning another medal at a global championships, his second full season, running. And I know some people are going to say he was around in 2023. And if you go back to 2022, he was running there. Listen, the one-off races in 2022 that you can probably count on two fingers, you know what I mean? And then, of course, the couple he did in 2023 doesn't really compare to a full season on the circuit, competing competitively against the best in the world. And that's what we saw, in 2024. He made it to the Olympic Games, competed the best he could, walked away with a silver medal there in the men's 100 meters. And fast forward to 2025, does it all over again and walks away with a silver medal. So, of course, I'm definitely applauding Kishane for coming out, new to the scene. If you check all the athletes that were competing, at that level, they've been around for a minute. Even if you talk about the younger, let's see, little Boho, that was in the race, he was coming up from the junior ranks, you know what I mean, used to winning, right? So for those athletes, they're not necessarily new, to that level of competing. And Kishane Thompson managing in 2 seasons, making 2, global championship finals and walking away with 2 medals, I definitely think that that's a fantastic job done. Now, when you think about the race holistically and thinking about, okay, he placed second, was this his best race? I definitely think I can agree with Stephen Francis and say this wasn't his best race. Clearly the fact that he ran 9.75 before, to win the national championships, the expectation, I believe, going in, and I believe you guys would have known from a number of my preview videos as well, where I was going, it's Jamaica versus Jamaica, 9-7 versus 9-7, potentially 9-6. What will we see? You know what I mean? So I'm sure a number of you will understand that me going in as well was expecting it to be no no slower than 9.7, for the win between both these athletes. I expected Oblique Seville to be in personal best shape, run the first 9.7 of his life, or probably faster, you know what I mean? And also Kishane, I expected him to come back again and be able to rally and bring out another 9.7. And yeah, whose 9.7 would be the fastest and who would get the gold medal at the end of the day? That's really not how things played out. Clearly, as I said, Kishane running 9.82 in the finals. Now, when I, go back and I look at the race, I remember before the race actually went off, I was live and I said the only thing I could say that will separate Kishane from Oblique Seville in this race, given I was expecting both of them to be able to run 9.7, was the fact that when it came to Kishane, he was actually flanked with both American athletes, right? So on his, inside, I believe, was Noah Lyles, and on his outside was Kenny Benerick. And I thought to myself, if that's going to be the moment that differentiates, gold from silver, it will be the fact that Kishane is probably the athlete in this race that is feeling the most pressure. One, yes, he went in as the favorite, right? So that in and of itself is a lot of pressure, that he would be carrying. And yeah, two, the mere fact that he was flanked by Noah Lyles, and we saw what Noah Lyles did in 2024, peeped him at the line, and no amount of, guess what? Noah Lyles is not going to be, running 9.7s this season. When everybody lines up, guess what? They're all starting from the same place, and it's who on the day executes their best race. So when you take into consideration that Kishane Thompson was literally flanked by both of those athletes, I thought to myself, I wonder if this is going to be, the differentiation between himself and Oblique Seville. And yeah, you could tell during the race that Kishane was heavily under pressure just based on how he executed. Again, he still pulled out a silver, so I'm not really fussing over it. But for sure, it is back to the drawing board for Kishane Thompson and also MVP Stephen Francis. So the thing about Kishane Thompson now when it comes to competing going forward, clearly when we talk about the athletes again that have spent the least amount of time, competing competitively, that is Kishane Thompson. When you look at the athlete that has the most upside in terms of the things to fix from a technical perspective, that is also, Kishane Thompson. Problem is there's no real clock on fixing these technical flaws, right? So when you look at Kishane Thompson, you're like, okay, the last phase of his race is definitely not his strongest. Now, Kishane did say, in a post-race interview that he doesn't think he got the best start. And I definitely think I agree with him. Again, that is when you take into consideration that, yeah, the man was feeling a bit of pressure, flanked by both Noah Lyles and, also Kenny Benerick. And we saw what Kenny Benerick did against him, in the actual semi-final. So maybe those things, were playing, on Kishane Thompson's mind when it came to running into the finals. But that being said, I don't think he got the best start as well. But I think the biggest, area to work on for Kishane is clearly, that final phase, that last maybe, 30 to 20 meters when it comes to holding your top end for as long as possible, right? Because all the athletes, after you hit, that peak, in the race, they're all slowing down. But it's really who is able to hold on to it the longest, right? So he has to work on that area. So the question now becomes MVP, Stephen Francis, again, looking at his racing and, yeah, trying to resolve those technical flaws. Again, for me personally, trackies, those flaws are not things that will be fixed overnight. Would I love for them to be fixed overnight? Absolutely. No questions asked. I would love for me to wake up tomorrow morning and snap. Kishane is perfect when it comes to his execution, but I know that it's not going to be fixed overnight. So the question is, what will they now implement to ensure that that final phase of his racing becomes as strong as it could possibly be? Because guess what? Oblique Seville is going nowhere. Guess what? Oblique Seville is as confident as he's ever been, knowing that he's been on this stage so many times and know he's actually the champion. I don't see anything stopping an Oblique Seville from a technical perspective going forward. So he has the speed, 9.77. He's one of the best out there technically. So Kishane is going to have to up his game technically. Yes, Kishane has the speed, but he's also going to have to up his game technically if he intends to compete with an Oblique Seville going forward, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what, MVP Stephen Francis, does with Kishane Thompson going forward. I know the thought process for Kishane was to have him, compete in the 200s as well. But clearly, given, how injury prone he is, that's not something that he has been able to take on just yet. But guess what? It's the same thing for Oblique Seville, right? Remember, Oblique Seville, we were talking about it over the years. His final phase of his race is his weakness, right? And we saw where Oblique Seville, from last season, you saw those 200s. He's been working on it, in racing at least, in competitive racing at least, right? And then fast forward to 2025, he got much better when it came to the 200 and competing, at that level, right? So I suspect that they'll probably take the same route again with Kishane, doing as much as they can, taking into consideration again his injury concerns. Will we see him target the 200s in 2026 going forward? I would love to see that, but again, it's all based on what his body can handle. It took Oblique Seville a minute to be able to get into those 200s to be able to compete at this level. Clearly, Oblique Seville himself, having a toe, setback over the years. It's a little bit different for Kishane, right? Different injury, but still concerns when it comes to whether or not they will be able to compete and, still be able to run the 100 and be competitive at a championships while trying to manage the 200 meters. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes down with Kishane. But they definitely need to refine his craft. There's no real time on how long that will take, but guess what, I definitely have hope and faith that Stephen Francis will be able to over time get him more technically sound and get him up to scratch so that when he lines up again against the likes of an Oblique Seville, against the likes of a Noah Lyles, a Kenny Benerick, a Letsili Boho, whoever else is there, even Brian Lavelle, because I'm expecting him to be, a competitor going forward as well, right? Even when he lines up against these athletes that all do the 200, right, all have a strong final phase, he will still be able to be there and potentially stand on top of the podium. Anyway, trackies, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Back to the drawing board for Kishane Thompson. Another silver medal here, but Stephen Francis says that's not his best race. So what makes him happy is the fact that you compete at the best you could have, which in my opinion, he's not happy with Kishane Thompson. Let me know your thoughts, trackies. Like the video, of course, and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye.